man, I got a super cool product you guys have to see if you're in the Sonos ecosystem. You got the Sonos Play 1, you got the Sonos One, or maybe you have an SL. I have found the coolest piece of all time, and we are the only distributor for it in the USA. This is from Fruition Designs. Check it out. Get them off the tabletops, guys. I know you have them in your bathrooms. I know you have them on your kitchen counters, and I know you don't want them sitting there, but you love the Sonos interface and you love the audio. So what's the next step? Hide them in the ceiling. Check this out, guys. This is a Sonos SL. You slip it right in. All you need is high voltage power wired right to the back inside of a UL listed box, keeping everything up to city code. And then you just pop it in the ceiling. You can also do it in the wall if you have 2x6 framing inside your walls, but then you pop the grill over the top and it disappears. And if you're gonna do it in the wall, you can also order a square grill from us at shopdreammedia.com. On today's video, I'm gonna show you guys in my son's bathroom what I've been struggling with and what I think a lot of you guys are struggling with. We have a Sonos sitting in the corner and it's great. We love playing music to it whenever we're doing bath time, but it's in the way. It's a really small vanity and it would be great to get it up off the counter, especially because my son, he likes to splash around and we don't want to have to worry about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take you upstairs to my son's bathroom and show you step by step how to do this installation. If you guys would like to purchase, head over to Shop Dream Media. We ship nationwide. Let's get into the video. All right, guys, welcome to my son's bathroom. Now, we use this religiously. This tiny little room. We literally use this every single day for bath time. So we are constantly using this Sonos speaker. Probably more than any other speaker in our house, just because every day the kiddo needs a bath. So this speaker here on the counter does pose a problem. It's taking up space and our kiddo gets in here washing his hands, doing his stuff, and there's a lot of water getting splashed around. So it'd be great to get it up out of here. What I'm thinking we do, I would have just mounted it in the wall, but I've already showed you guys on another video how to mount it in the wall. Plus, many of you guys around the country are gonna have standard 2x4 studs, so you're not gonna have the option to mount it inside of the wall. Luckily, I have 2x6 walls, so I was able in my master bedroom to mount it into the wall. But in this video, I wanted to show how to mount it in the ceiling and how to overcome the obstacles of not having pre-wiring in place. So what I'm gonna do is right here above me, I'm going to cut a hole, check where my studs are, cut that hole, and then I'm gonna drill through the top framing and I'm gonna drop my wiring down to my switches that are here on the wall and show you how to wire in to the high voltage power that is going to the switches, which then feed up to the lights for our vanity lights and our can lights. All right, guys, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm thinking that I want to install the speaker up here on the ceiling and tap off of this power here. There's really no power in this room other than right here on the counter. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are facing this same issue, which is why the speaker ends up on the counter right next to your sink. But today I'm gonna mark out where my studs are and then I'm gonna cut a hole up top and fish my wiring down to this outlet. That's gonna be pretty challenging. I would like to point out that if you're wanting to make things a little bit easier, you can cut another single gang hole right here and just put a blank plate on it or have it patched to make it easier to run the wiring from up there all the way to down here. I've been doing this a long time, so I'm gonna take a stab at it and see if I can get it done. Now I have my ladder leaned up against the wall in line with the stud placement on the wall. Now I need to find out where the studs are in the ceiling and try to line it up to where I can drill through the header beam that sits right here. Typically you'll have 2x4s or 2x6s stacked on top of each other that connect all the framing in your wall. It's called a header, and we're gonna need to drill through that to get our high voltage wiring down to our termination point, which is where the high voltage power currently sits that feeds the lights and things like that in this room. So I'm going to take my stud finder, this one's from Franklin Sensors, and I'm going to find out where my studs are. We got one right here. All right, right, so we have a stud here, stud here, stud here. I'm gonna hold my template up and see if it can fit in this one here, which it can. I wanna get it as far over as possible. If I put it right here in the corner, it's gonna kind of trap the audio and reverb off the wall. This room is already really reflective, and you could probably hear in this video, it has a pretty harsh echo. So I'm gonna bring it a little bit further, closer to center of the room. So this red line right here is our cutout, and I'm gonna put it right up against the edge of my framing. And I'm gonna fold the other side as well. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of room because it looks like I do have some clearance before we hit that next stud. So now I can mark out where I need to cut. I'm gonna do little marks with my drywall saw, like this, all the way around. Okay. So now you can see I got little marks where I need to cut. And keep in mind, you can just use a hole saw, but a drywall manual hole saw costs hardly anything. But you can get a drill bit connection that will allow you to cut this really rapidly, and you would just mark out the center of the cutout. And it's a 9-inch hole. With that said, this solution works as well, and it's very inexpensive. I also have another automatic tool attachment that makes cutting the sheetrock pretty quick. But again, just because I want to show you guys a very affordable way to do it, I'm going to use this $10 hole saw. So next, I need to start cutting my hole. All right, now that we have our hole cut, I'm gonna get my drill bit and drill down through the header beam so that I can run my wire down to the receptacle. All right guys, so I got my hammer drill here with a 1-inch wood bit on it, and I'm just gonna drill down through as straight as possible because I'm gonna try to run my wiring down to that high voltage box and through it without cutting a hole next to the switches, which sometimes I'm successful in pulling it off, sometimes I'm not, so we'll see what happens. Patience is a virtue when it comes down to stuff like that. All right, and that's how it's done. Now that we've gotten through our header beam, I'm gonna go and pop off my wall plate down there, as well as pull out my switches and try to create some space so that I can try to shoot my wiring up. This is very challenging and does require some serious patience. If you want it to be done quicker, you can just cut a single gang hole right next to your switches, drop it down, grab the wire, and put a blank plate over the hole. I'm gonna make it hard on myself. All right, next I'm gonna go down to the breaker panel and kill the power to this room so that I can have a little bit more wiggle room and make it easier for me to manipulate these wires without shocking myself. If you're not a licensed electrician, kill the power before you start touching anything. All right, our power is now dead, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull out all my wires so that I can punch a hole through the top and get my wire ran from up there down. All right, this is called a fish rod, and it's just a rigid yet flexible piece of fiberglass essentially. And I'm going to use this to fish my wire from up there down to this hole. And I'll electrical tape the Romax. I'm gonna be using 14-2 Romax wire, which will keep everything up to city code, to fish from up there down to the hole. Let's do it. All right, guys, so this installation is gonna be more difficult than I had initially thought. as you can see, I have a fire break right here. It's a piece of wood that's running horizontally through where I need to run the wire, so I can't get the wire from there down to there without drilling through it. So what I'm going to need to do is cut a hole and drill through it. Just like I was talking about down here, I'm going to do the same thing up here and put a blank plate over it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a single gang and drill through the hole. Let's do it. This is called a retro ring for low voltage work. This is perfect for holding a blank plate. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a single gang hole and use this to cover the hole. It's pretty high up there. It's probably about 8 feet up, so I'm not even worried about patching it because you're not really going to see it. But this is a pretty clever way of getting wires to where you need them to go without having to repair the sheetrock. And it's pretty discreet. And as you can see, now that I have my single gang hole cut, my retro ring fits right in there, and I'll put my plate over it afterward. First, I need to drill through my framing. So I'm gonna grab my drill again and drill downward. Now that'll actually make fishing the wire a little bit easier because I have less of a distance to work with. So I should be able to shoot it from here to here and here to here fairly easy. That way I don't have to cut a single gang hole down here, but we'll see. You never know, there could be multiple fire breaks. So I'm just gonna keep working away at it. I hope you guys are enjoying this type of content where I'm really getting into the complexities of installation. If you like it, drop comments down below. If you're not a fan and you just want me to fast forward through it, drop those comments down below. Trying to deliver for you guys. All right, I got my 14-2 Romax, and I'm gonna start by cutting a piece long enough. I like to have a little extra to work with, so I'm gonna leave a few extra feet on both sides and start by fishing my wire from here down to here. Now I have my wire from the top hole to here. Need to work on fishing it the rest of the way. Now for this one, I am going to use the fish rod because it should be a pretty straight shot. Oh my God. Okay, and we have a secondary fire break. This is an absolute nightmare installation. So if I can do this, you guys can do this in any situation. I'm gonna go ahead and mark it out, and then what I'm gonna do for this one is my son's little pitcher goes right here, so I'm gonna try to go below it. Wow, that is very unfortunate. All right, well, one more to go through. I'm gonna cut my hole here and try to drill up. All right, now for this one here, I'm gonna try to use a different technique. Because my wires are coming down right here to my box and they're really close, I don't want to end up hitting them on accident. I'm gonna try to fish through the hole that's already been drilled whenever the home was built, some Romax, and then attach this Romax to this Romax with electrical tape. All right, no luck with that. Next, I'm gonna try to fish my Romax from this hole down to that hole that the builder drilled whenever they ran the wire, and see if I can just get lucky. We will see. Oh, all right, and I finally got it. So, patience, guys. Anytime you're retrofitting something, you definitely need to just take it slow, be patient, and eventually you'll get there. Retro installations are, without a doubt, some of the most complex installs. If you can think through these things when you're building a home, all you have to do is just tell your builder to stub out high voltage power, and this would all be avoided. You could just cut the hole and pop the speaker in. Or you could even order these and have the holes cut, have the builder terminate all the wiring, and all you have to do is just pop in the speaker itself. But if you're going to that extent, you could also do architectural speakers with low voltage wiring going back to a Sonos amp. So it's a little bit more expensive that way, but there's more speaker options available if you go that way too. Okay, so now I got my wiring from up at the hole to this fire break and through the second fire break. Now I need to get it from this fire break hole down to the main termination point. We're getting there. What I like about Romax is it kind of holds its shape, but yet it's still pliable. So you can kind of aim it towards the hole before you actually put it in the wall. And a lot of the time I can get lucky. All right, and we got our high voltage wiring right back to our termination point. I'm losing light, so next I'm gonna go ahead and strip back my wires and start making my connections. So strip that wire. I'm gonna take it down to the core, give myself a couple inches to play with. All right, so I have my main power hot line right here. I have my neutral back in here, right there, and then I have my copper ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove my connections. You wanna twist together your wires with the rest of them to make sure that it doesn't come loose on you. So now I got my ground connected. I'm gonna do the same with my hot line. I don't know if you guys can see that, but see how I got my hot and my ground wire kind of wrapped around the other wires, and then I twisted it with my pliers? That ensures that it's not gonna come loose on me. I really like to do that on any high voltage wires. You could just stick it into the barrel connector like this and twist it on, but it may come loose. So just as an extra precaution, I always go the extra mile and twist it around like that, and then get my pliers on it and just make sure that it's not gonna come loose. Like that. Perfect. Now I can push everything back into the wall. In addition to that, another thing you can do as a safety precaution is wrap your terminals like this, just to make sure that no loose wire is going to short out on the back of your terminals. I like to do that, just makes me feel better when I'm going to push everything back in. It's really common to do this for commercial installations because the boxes are metal and there's just a really high chance of something arcing. So I've kind of made a habit out of doing that over the years. Go ahead and screw everything back in. All right, next I'm gonna take a small screwdriver, little one, and get in here and remove these screws. This is where your high voltage power is going to connect. And even this one's a little big. I'm gonna have to use my drill bit. There's 4 screws. You'll need to take out all 4. They got these really nice quick easy connectors in there where you just push it in. It's so hard to show you guys because we have no light, but let me get my drill light on it. As you can see here, there are these little push terminals. So you're gonna strip back the wire and connect it inside of each, the white and the black connectors. So I'm gonna run it through back here, take this off, run it through this, and then make my connections inside of the box, and then screw the lid back on. I'm showing it to you now, even though you may not be able to see it well, because up there it's going to be pretty low visibility. All right, so I'm going to fish my wire through this first barrel connector, like that, and then into the enclosure, like that. I'm gonna take my wire strippers and strip back the wire a little bit. It's probably more than is necessary. I'm gonna only use about ½ inch of bare wire, so I just stripped back my white and black, and we're gonna get rid of the ground. And then I'm gonna connect white to white, black to black. All right, and now I'm just gonna push the rest of my wires up in here. I'm gonna tighten down my Romax connection on the back side of the enclosure. I'm gonna put my lid back on side, this little square piece. All right, we're getting somewhere now, guys. Now that I have all my connections made and everything's tightened up, I can go ahead and pull my installation back down, and then I'm gonna install the enclosure. These little clips will pop out and clamp onto the sheetrock. Let's do it. Okay. It's time to test it. All right, guys, I would like to point out that the Sonos SL as well as the Sonos One both work with this, in addition to the old Play One. That's pretty cool, because I'm sure a lot of you guys have these laying around the house and you're like, it'd be great to get it off the counter. This is your solution right here. Today's installation, I'm gonna be popping in the Play One. But I would like you to know that the SL also works. All right. So, plugged it into the very bottom, and now I'm gonna turn the power on. We should get an indicator here on the front. Yep, we're blinking, so we have power. And now I can go ahead and insert it in. No problemo. One of my dog legs were out. And you just pop it in like that. Rotate your dog legs around like that, and boom, you are done. Now you just need to go onto your application and start playing your songs. I'm going to show you what it looks like with the grill on and off. And grab the grill. Just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and take my tape off the ceiling, and that's a wrap. One thing I would like to note is you want to tighten all these screws here. So that's the last thing I'm gonna do on today's installation. And then grill. That's it. We're all done. And we have a completely hidden speaker. Now I just need to take care of all these wall plates right here. And although it's a little more work for me, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys that you can do this with the SL as well. And I'm going to drop it right into place. Okay, and now that we have the Sonos SL and the ceiling, we're gonna pop on the grill. Just like that. We're all done. All right, guys, that is a wrap on the Sonos Play One, the One, and the SL in-wall, in-ceiling enclosure installation video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you like these kind of videos, drop some comments down below and let me know how I'm doing. Keep in mind, I have already been talking with the manufacturer, Fruits and Associates, to work on manufacturing a comparable model for the new Era 100. So I will be doing that video in the future. But I know a lot of you guys have these Play Ones, the Ones and the SLs floating around your house, and I felt like this would be extremely valuable simple and something that I think a lot of you guys are going to appreciate. In the future, I'm gonna be popping one of these into every single bathroom in the house. That way, whenever I have guests over, I can put on very light background music in every single room. But the Sonos Play 1s, the SLs, they were never designed as a hi-fi solution, but it's perfect for background noise. And I'll have to say, I tested the speaker out of the enclosure and in the enclosure, and there is no notable difference in quality. I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking like, oh my gosh, it's gotta sound terrible. If you look at the exploded diagram of these speakers, it's a mono speaker just firing outward. Although that speaker grill does wrap all the way around, it doesn't actually have speakers on the side of the unit. So it performs exceptionally well, plus the voice control still works. Keep in mind, if you would like to purchase, you can head over to our website at shopdreammedia.com. We don't only sell this enclosure and Sonos, we have everything technology related that you need for your home. From home theater to 2-channel hi-fi, of all the best brands available, whether it's in-wall, in-ceiling, floor standing, bookshelf, wireless, hardwired, crazy sophisticated surround sound systems for Dolby Atmos. We have it all, guys, and we ship nationwide, and I have preferred installer networks in over 28 different states who can help you get it put in. Speaking of preferred installers, you guys are rock stars, and I know that this is a product that you're gonna wanna carry on your trucks. So reach out and you can order these in bulk to service your clients. If you ever have a customer who has a very unique situation, recommend this thing and I guarantee you're gonna get a 5-star review. All right, guys, well, that's all I got for you. If you liked the video, give me a big thumbs up and make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. Till next time, this is Zach with Dream Media Home Theater. Thank you for watching.